You're listening to From a Certain Point of View, the only Star Wars podcast that exclusively talks Star Wars. I am Jason, the Angry Ginger Jedi Guy, broadcasting super live, but so live that only you and my one listener, Matt, who's also a co-host, can listen. Monkey Boo Studios, that's me. Matt, Darth Matthews, that's you. Fucking hell of an intro. Do better. Go.
I think you've used that intro a few times now. I think we need to get you back to writing some in the future, like ahead of time, because you write some really witty ones. But
yes, I do.
Lately, you're just mailing it in.
I can't speak witty, but I can write it.
You're doing all right. I actually am doing fine. I was just on a little mini vacation.
Oh, that's right.
Went up to Washington and decided, well, the NCAA tournament's nearby and my team is playing in it. Let's fucking pay through the nose for some good seats to that and win.
Come on. You knew the second you were going to Washington that the game was going to be there and you're going to be like, oh, wife.
Well, then you look at the seats on like StubHub or whatever, and you're going, well, I could be in the bleeders or I could pay about like $50 more a ticket and sit in the fifth row. Let's just do the fifth row.
Oh, that's not bad.
Oh, they were fucking great seats. So it was fun.
So who's your team?
Oregon.
Still the Ducks? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know if that was just a football thing and then you went somewhere else for basketball.
No. And unfortunately, we lost. That sucked, but it was a good game. But the game before was actually really fun because it was Maryland and Colorado State, which you might think, why would that be fun? Really great game. Awesome game. Came down to the wire. Colorado State hits a three with like 5 seconds to go or something, 10 seconds to go up one. They go inbound to Maryland, and this freshman, big dude, drives left and banks one in at the fucking buzzer. And if you look at the video on TV, the shot showing him make the camera angle showing him make the shot, all of us in a line in the background going, woo!
Oh, really?
I'll show you a picture of it after this.
So you were at that game as well?
Yeah, because you get the sessions. You get to play. You get to go to both games because it's the second round of the tournament, and they have 2 games back to back. So that was pretty cool. It's just my feeling when it comes to sporting events, especially like basketball games, is I would rather, instead of going to like 3 games and sitting in the upper deck, I would rather just go to 1 game and pay through the nose and have the good seats. It is such a better experience.
Okay.
It's fucking awesome.
I've only been to a couple of NBA games, but it's been years. So, and it's always been nosebleed because that's what you can afford,
Right. It's one of those where, go ahead.
I was just going to make a joke about being poor, but I'm not poor. So I was, though, when I went to a game. So
well, it's not like I'm rich. It's just one of those things where it's like you pick your spots. And so if I'm not going to go to a bunch of games. This is my one opportunity. So I was like, why don't I just go,
Calm down, Eminem.
Yeah. Why don't I lay down a bunch of cash and go, even if I did say as a joke after the game, I was like, I want at least half my money back because we lost. That's how sports should work.
That would be fair.
Anyway, we're a Star Wars podcast. You can find us at FromACertainPointOfSkew.com. You can find us on Twitter, Threads, and Blue Sky at FactButPod. You can email the show, factbutpod@gmail.com, and you can leave us a voicemail. Haven't had one in a little while. Would love a voicemail if you'd like to leave one. 678-322-7277. What's on the show, Jay?
Call us. And before we move on, I just want to say, I'm surprised you haven't figured out a way to put a duck in our logo.
Ooh, I have to work on that.
Just like the little secret, like, no one even noticed. I'm a villain.
I'll work on that.
All right. On the show today, we've got a question of the week. Give me what I want. Celebration talk. News. Another Andor trailer. Yeah, baby. This one was for the Andor, the Star Wars peeps. So all of those that got upset about the first one, this one's for you. Andor review, season 1, episodes 4 through 6. Aldhani. And then we're going to talk Maul Bag. 1 email in that bad boy.
Yeah, question of the week. I said with Star Wars Celebration just a few weeks away, what is the one thing you want to see or hear the most coming out of this event? Updates on a certain movie project, a new live action or animated series, video game or book news, etc. So we got a few responses from the usuals. Brown Leader says Resistance Season 3, The Kaz Chronicles. Oh, boy. He spells Chronicles with a K, too, just to make it worse.
I get, they're going to try and get a little rise out of me, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what this is for. But you put this out on the internet in public without a wink or a nod. So you look like you want this. And nobody wants this. You've lost credit.
There are a few people out there that I see from time to time posting on Twitter saying how much they enjoyed Resistance. I don't get it, but
there's like one or two accounts that I've seen, and it's about once a month I see, I don't care what anyone says. And I literally, maybe I've said this before, but all I see in my head is that Jay and Silent Bob scene where they knock on the fucker's door, pull him out, suplex him, and beat the shit out of him.
Right.
Like, I'm a people person, but nobody wants us. It was terrible.
Well, I don't think it was all that well received, but certainly everybody's going to find a nugget they like.
That's true. Yeah, I'll let them have that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, everybody likes their own things. That's fine. It just, boy, that show wasn't for us. No. So let's not do that, Brown Leader. I Am Anakin's Father, recent winner of the giveaway, says, what I want to hear the most is anything and everything about what movies are coming soon. Right behind that would be upcoming animation series.
Yes.
I'm right in line with you.
Have you seen on the interwebs over the last week, everyone deciding to turn on The Mandalorian and Grogu because of the title?
Because of the title?
Yeah, everyone's like, that's a stupid title.
Okay. Who cares?
I mean, it's literally what it is. Do you want like the episode 3, a new, a hope or something like that? Like, no, you're well, and this is like, I think this is theatrical, right? So they're expecting people to go see a Star Wars movie they might not be familiar with on Disney Plus.
Right. But they've heard of Grogu probably,
right.
Or the Mandalorian. Exactly. So this is the way to get them there.
Right.
Wouldn't you think?
Right there, front and center. Yep.
I don't know. Maybe what we'll do is we'll have a contest once the movie comes out, or maybe just before. We'll have people send in their requested titles for the movie.
Okay.
That'll be our question of the week that week. Yeah. Around that time. Next up, Max Rebo says Tales of the Cantina with a 3. It's just Tales of the Cantina with a 3-episode Max Rebo arc and a 3-episode Garza Fwip arc.
Like there's got to be like a crossover episode. Where they're both in the same one.
Bleed one into the other. Yeah. Well, I mean, they obviously have a history, those two.
I know.
So it would make sense.
She's his baby.
Is that how it works? Adelphi Ranger says, I want Mike Stackpole's Rogue Squadron movie starring Carson Teva and a rebooted Rangers of the New Republic, Carson Teva guest starring in Book of Boba Fett 2, and then he says, Oscar and 2 Emmys for sure. Big Carson Teva fan. Did you see he just got his own figure?
Yeah, I saw that. He posted.
Cool.
Does he have his own podcast or something? Or was he on a podcast and he showed the figure?
I think he has his own, but he also does a lot of guest shots. We should really reach out.
Yeah, I mean, apparently the guy's got 7 clones because he's everywhere.
He is everywhere, and he has a passion for this stuff. He would be a great guest to have on. So we need to work on that. He was on Hyperspace Heroes. They got him on there. We got to work on it.
Yep.
It's my fault. I blame myself. Brian Hour finally says, Marin action figures, give me my goth space witch. Because if it's one person, when I think of Marin from the Jedi Survivor video games, I think of Brian Hour. That is his favorite. Yeah.
Yes. He's made it clear that is his Mon Mothma.
That's right. Exactly. Good relation there. All right. In news, only thing really newsworthy this past week was that we got another trailer. Mm-hmm. Are we getting to the point where maybe we don't want to get any more trailers because we just want to go into it, or is it because every time I see a trailer I get pretty fucking amped? Yeah,
I'm super psyched. The only thing I was looking for was, well, I haven't looked for it yet, but I figured it'd pop up on my Twitter is, sometimes when they release enough footage of things, someone will put like a super trailer together. Mm-hmm. We'll take all the clips and try to make them all work like scene thematically, but I haven't seen one of those yet.
No, and then I love when you get the fan ones where it's like that, where they kind of course it into being something totally different based on, and then mix in some different quotes and some different scenes, and they go, look at this new trailer. Then you see it has 82,000 downloads, and you're like, that's not a new trailer.
Right.
So I just want to touch on a few major points from the trailer. First up, we see Saw Gerrera looking way more like the Rogue One Saw Gerrera. And it looks like he's peering out that window at Jeddah with the Star Destroyer above it. Like, is this literally going to be the last shot we see of Saw Gerrera in like the finale that kind of puts it? It feels like this is a lot of putting chess pieces in place for Rogue One. Yeah.
It looks like it's the arrival of the ship.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yep.
So this is because he looks very distraught.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looks like he's seen better days, better explosions in his past.
He definitely has.
Yeah.
Then there's a conversation with Cassian and Luthen where Cassian is asking him, what happens if the operation goes up in flames? And he's like, that'd be great. That'd be great. Because Luthen doesn't care the outcome. He just wants it to cause a big fucking ruckus as a part of his means to an end of, sparking this rebellion.
Yeah.
So he's just going to keep going through that. Then there's more from that planet with the fields of grain. It kind of looks like Lethal.
Right.
Where it's Brasso and the kid from Ferrix, Wilmon.
Yeah,
and
also,
Bix.
he's giving some fucking butterfly eyes over there to Binks. He better watch his back.
Okay,
better watch his goddamn back.
Did you see the tweet from, I think it's Brian Ward, who turned it into a Cialis commercial?
Oh, I did see that.
Oh, my God, that was fucking funny. I laughed out loud at that one. That was great.
Yeah, that was perfect.
The two of them smiling at each other. Oh,
and they put like the logo on the bottom of the screen.
Yes.
Yes.
When the moment hits, be ready.
Oh, boy.
But yeah, this appears to be some sort of rebel outpost or place where they're training or laying low or whatever they're doing. And it looks like it's going to get sniffed out by the Empire, and that's not going to go well. We get a shot of your gal Mon calling out in the Senate, the monster will come for us all.
Right.
So, I mean, this has got to be like the end. This is like her.
This is her speech, right? Before she fucking jumps on the rebel ship and goes straight to animation?
I think so. I think it's got to be. We also get a look at Dedra, who appears to be freaking the fuck out, clutching at her Imperial uniform as if it doesn't fit well, losing her shit, right?
Well, I forgot like that was a character trait of hers. She did it once in these 3 episodes that we're going to cover. And I think she tends to do it a few more times. And this trailer shot for the 2nd season looks like, it's choking the life out of her. Some people are like, oh, she's getting force choked. No, I think she's having a straight up panic attack.
I think she is because I think you're right. I think it's it's almost like a little mannerism that she has where she just constantly has to grab at it. It's like an anxiety thing.
You think she like turned coat? Like she's like, you know what? Maybe this Empire shit ain't for me. It's
hard to say because I was thinking about her and Syril in that regard. Like, I've seen somebody make the argument when it comes to Syril, like, would he have been scooped up by either side? He just was looking for a cause to follow. You know, was it really the Empire that he was really that passionate about, or was it just that he was looking for some place he could be involved?
Right.
I don't know that she's that way. She seems pretty fucking ruthless.
Yeah, she does.
Maybe she's just caught up in the whole moment of, this is my job and I'm trying to solve a fucking mystery here.
Yeah, she's like in a man's world and she's like, God damn it, I can do this job better than you can, Mr. fucking running 6 sectors.
Exactly. Blevin. Yeah. But there's a moment that they cut the previous trailer, I think it is, to make it look like she's the one that gives the go order for the troopers to start fucking shooting the Gorman people. So that could just be clever editing.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. I'm not sure. She certainly seems like she's not doing well.
Right.
Maybe Edie's finally getting to her. Fucking mother-in-law.
Oh, yeah. You think like she does sleepovers now?
She just got off a call. She's like,
she's got a whole bowl of cereal with these two? Oh, my God.
He gets plenty of cereal at home.
Can you imagine? You know how like you've got that one friend? Everyone does, right? Every married person has that one friend that calls and the wife is just like, oh, and she's got to like listen to you like having a fun conversation in the background, and she's just like, oh. Do you think that's Deirdre with Syril when what's his face calls from season 1?
Linus?
When they're playing Who's on First? She's just like, will
not
you
him
fucking
again.
come to bed?
Sadly, I think Linus, the actor, said he was not involved in season 2. Now, granted, he could be because that's his homie, but yeah.
I think I just found a new From a Certain Point of View story to write.
Oh, I like that. Linus. Yeah. Good one. One last thing we get is a very quick shot of an Imperial facility atop snowy mountains. Now, I don't know if anyone else saw this and thought the same thing I did. Maybe it's my ongoing tech PTSD. That looked a little bit like that Raven's Peak place on Iriadu, where Tarkin's from. And I don't know if people have been talking about that or not, but that's what we see where they have the summit, where Tarkin's there with Krennic. So it totally makes sense.
I took the picture. I zoomed in on it because I was looking to see if they had the rail lines.
Yeah.
Which those kind of got shattered.
They were destroyed.
Right? So maybe they never reinstalled that. But it does look like it, except for if I recall, wasn't the building itself kind of like a taller tower?
It had a taller tower, and I think that was the one thing that was kind of left standing after Saw fucked it all up with all the explosives and shit. So it's a reach, but it just seemed like it was similar in the in look. It looked a lot like, and it makes a lot of sense considering that's Tarkin's home planet. That's where he was having those meetings and stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. That seems a little fishy. So I'm wondering if that's what it ends up being. But,
and it's just different enough for Gilroy to be like, yeah, I put my stamp on it.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, altogether, great trailer. Really enjoyed it.
We saw some more proof that it is a wedding on Chandrila.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of customs going on there.
Right.
There's a lot of different ceremonial things that are happening, and it's just going to be fun to watch because, like we've seen in certain shots, Mon Mothma's having a fucking blast dancing, but then at other times she's not looking so happy.
Right. Yeah, I think she's faking the whole thing.
Well, fuck. I mean, we'll get into it in here in a second, but that home life between her and the husband and the daughter is just. I mean, she's got. Where's her happy place?
Oh,
nowhere.
I think it's in the Senate, and that's sad.
It is sad.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. Let's get into Andor season 1, episodes 4 through 6. So overall, there's a whole lot of feeling each other out in this arc. This is very much a unfair play to the Aldhani crew. They're like been doing this shit for 5 months, and then this new guy comes in.
Right.
They barely trust each other, let alone
shows up with a full belly. Like,
exactly.
Who is this fucking dude?
Getting paid, they find out later.
Right.
I mean, Nemec is the only one who's kind of, cool with him because he's such a believer. He just wants to think that he's on board with the cause.
Yep.
One thing I do like is how in the first 2 episodes, they do a lot of flashing back and forth between Aldhani and Coruscant with Mon and Luthen and Dedra, and as well as they show what's going on in Ferrix. But once it's go time in episode 6 for that mission, it doesn't cut away from it, which I think was smart because you would lose a little bit of the momentum of that mission in the build-up. So I thought that was cool how the whole thing is Aldhani all the way to the very end when you see the fallout in Coruscant. And that's kind of it. I thought that was really well done. Mm-hmm. Just like last week, we'll just kind of walk through. I'm going to walk through kind of the big events as we go through each of these episodes, and stop me if I'm going too fast, Jay.
Take me away.
So we pick up episode 4 back on the Fondor. Luthen's still having to sell Cassian on. And by the way, throughout this conversation, I'm going to say Cassian and Clem interchangeably because I was like looking through and jotting stuff down, and I was just like, I keep calling him different things. Fuck it. Everybody knows who I'm talking about.
He's Clem once he's off the ship.
As soon as he steps foot on the ground in Aldhani. Right. Yes. Okay. Yep. So he's still selling him on it because he's Cassian's like.
I do want to say, like, he asked him, "Hey, pick a name. What do you want to be called?" Mm-hmm. And his go-to is Clem.
Yeah. Do you know why?
Please tell me.
It's his dad's name.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
You just thought he made up some dumb name?
Yeah, I was like, out of all the names in the world, you pick Clem. You know what? Even if that's his dad's name, I might have went with his middle name.
Well, it's a little. I mean, it's nice for him to pay an honor to his dad like that. Sure. But at the same time, you're like, you don't want to trace yourself back in any way. Like if they find out your name's Clem,
that's true.
I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of Clems running around. Maybe it's like John. It doesn't really matter.
I haven't run into one yet.
No. Well, and then of course Luthen just buys it right away. Okay, you're Clem.
Yeah.
Also,
do you like my hair?
It reminds me of this funny story my dad always tells about his it's his mother's sister. So I guess that'd be my great aunt, and how her name, because of Italian family naming traditions, was Salvatore, was her name.
Okay.
Or Salvatore. She's going to school, first day of school, like kindergarten or first grade. She's in the car. She's kind of not happy. Dad's dropping her off. And he's like, "What's wrong?" She's like, I don't know if I really like my name. He's like, "Well, what do you want to be called?" She goes, "May." And he goes, "You're May." That was it. She became May. Oh. Right there in that moment, right before she got to school, she became May. I love how she's been thinking about it. May's kind of nice.
As we're approaching school life, let's go with May.
So there you go. Sometimes it just comes that easy. Anyway, Cassian's just like, drop me off anywhere. Like, I don't give a shit. And Luthen's, again, going into this whole thing of like, we can pay you and you fuck up the Empire. Like, it's kind of a nice little dual deal you got going here. So, come on board. And then Cassian's like kind of making him for a member of one of the rebel cells. He starts throwing out names, Partisan Front, Guerrilla, Sep, etc. But he also talks about a little bit of his history. He says he was on Mimban, which is that planet that Solo was on, with the mud planet where he meets Tobias Beckett in the movie Solo.
Oh, right. Okay.
And, Luthen tells him, okay, well, here's the deal. I got this job. I'm going to give you 200,000 credits, which of course, Cassie does a good job of not like going, what? 200,000 credits? But anyway, he's like, I'll give you 200,000 credits if you do this job, and then you can just walk away. He's like, okay, you got me.
Because that's over double what he was looking for that box, right? Didn't he want like 90,000 credits for that?
I think he wanted 40.
Wasn't that the conversation with Banks where she could get that, and he's like, no, or he was willing to settle for that to get out right away. But I think it was worth 90. Something like that.
I don't know. But I thought he said 40, and then when Luthen's talking to him, he's like, I'll give you an extra 1,000 if you tell me, more information about yourself and all that stuff.
Well, you're the numbers guy, so I'm going to believe you.
I mean, regardless, 200,000. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of credits.
Yeah.
So certainly more than he's had recently. Mm-hmm. So we get to Coruscant and we meet Dedra for the first time at ISB. She's in this board meeting with major party guys. I forgot just how much of a prickly fucker that guy is. He is just reaming anyone and everyone providing reports.
Yeah.
Like nobody wants to speak up.
I wouldn't want to work for this dude.
Oh, I mean, it would be tough. He cuts through it. His major message is essentially that they're not there to provide security. They're there essentially to sniff out and snuff out anything. They don't want anything any root thing to turn in and blossom into some sort of bigger issue. Right. So essentially, they're in the intelligence business.
What's he say? They're a health plan, or what does he call them?
He says we're health providers. Something about like we find diseases and treat them or something like that. So essentially, looking at larger problems and also trying to get them early on in the process so they don't become something a larger issue. By the time it comes to security and having to deal with that, he's like, that's out of our hands. We're too late.
Right. Yes. So, I like Dan Gilroy's point of view on some of the things that the way he puts information across in these episodes.
What do you mean? Like how so? Like this?
The way he does that, and there's something he does with the conversation when Clem meets the group and how they're selling themselves. I can't remember exactly, but it was the second one. I was like, oh, he keeps he puts just this unique twist that makes it both understandable, but not a way that I would go off into the world and try to sell something as,
Yeah, and he's not hitting you over the head with it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. We also meet Lonnie, who we find out later is Luthen's man on the inside, the ginger guy with the mustache. And he mentions construction shipments, unusually high or something, increased construction shipments to Scarif. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Back on Aldhani, Luthen is giving Cassian, or now Clem, as we'll call him, some collateral. He gives him what he calls a Quati Signet, which is this blue sky kyber crystal, is essentially collateral.
Mm-hmm.
And he's telling him how much money it's worth. He then goes outside to try to convince Vel for Clem to take her to take Clem on for the job. She's not fucking happy. He's like, okay, fine then, just forget it then.
I like when he's getting out of the ship. He's like, I gotta go talk to her. He's like, I thought you were the boss. I never said that. You are the boss.
Well, it's tough. It is. He is the boss. It's tough for Cassian to try to figure out what the hell's going on. He's been dropped into a very tough situation here that nobody wants him to be part of.
And he doesn't talk much this episode.
No.
He's just trying to fucking figure out what everyone's doing and what his place is and all this.
Yeah, never give up more information than you have to.
Right.
That's kind of what he's doing. I do love that scene with the TIE flying around Aldhani. Anytime you have TIEs flying on a planet like that instead of in outer space, for some reason it just looks cooler to me.
Oh, the TIE fighters, right.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And so I like how they that one comes flying through. They have to duck out of sight.
Mm-hmm.
Cassian learns that the Empire is using Aldhani for distribution because apparently it's close to everything. I didn't look at the map. This is where we need Rural Farm Boy. And they drove these natives out of their settlements and into this one kind of major collection area. They're basically not treating the natives very well at all.
No, right.
The meeting between Clem and the team is a bit frosty, I think you could say.
Mm-hmm.
They're all just a little bit suspicious of this guy. But we meet all the other players. Nemec is, the idealist working on his manifesto.
Mm-hmm.
Skeen, who I thought was so great. He seems to have some sort of, experience with the cause, but you're not sure exactly what. That Terramin, I wrote down, it's Terramin, right? It's not Tamarin. I kept writing that back and forth.
I think Terramin sounds right.
I think it's Terramin. He's kind of more soldier-like, and you're going to find out why a little bit later.
Yep.
And then Cinta, who's Vel's girlfriend, she looks like she'll just cut your throat in your sleep.
Again, the way they write that she's in a relationship with someone.
Shares a blanket.
Right. And was it Clem takes it as it's Skeen.
Skeen, right. Yeah.
But the camera is showing the two women in the background.
Right.
And then there's something else that's later, and it's he still doesn't pick up on it's them. And I was trying to remember if we picked up on who it was at first.
I think we did, because by the end of this episode, I think you get a glimpse into it. I can't remember if it's this episode or the next one. I think it's this one where he's being healed by Cinta and Vel's kind of getting jealous about how she's healing him up and how they're
I think
talking.
That's the next one.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe if I recall. Yeah. Because she says, you can dress yourself from now on.
Right. Yeah. We also get Lieutenant Gorn, who shows up later on a speeder bike. He is fuming about the addition of Clem. He's kind of the man on the inside at the garrison. So then Vel breaks down the plan for Cassian, which involves a lovely model that Nemec built. Not to scale.
He's so proud of that thing.
Because it's not to scale, of course.
Right.
I love that. So the plan's to break in, load up a box freighter with the payroll funds that they house there, and then Clem flies him out. He thinks it's a suicide mission, of course, though, but they're like, hey, the Eye of Aldhani be going. Everybody's going to be looking up. Nobody's going to even notice us.
Yeah. Also, like, I don't know if we talked about this last time. I figured we probably did because this seems like a good joke to go to, but don't they transfer anything digitally?
I know.
Like, we gotta move all this shit off a freighter every month to go do payroll.
Direct deposit? I mean, come on.
No.
Way easier.
We're gonna rob. I mean, they're basically robbing Fort Knox.
Yes, right. We're at a pretty advanced technical age. You know, even though this is a long time ago,
Right.
You'd think that they would be able to handle that better. You think you'd have like a bank account with credits in it. And then it just kind of keeps showing Clem is getting like brought up to speed at pretty quick pace, you know, and nobody trusts him. Nemec trusts him, but nobody else does.
Yep.
We go back for a minute to Morlana and the post-operation procedure for like Syril's mission. Oh, it's a bit rough. Because this Blevin dude is just laying into Syril and Linus and Cyril's boss about how he's like, you guys fucked up and you're going to officially admit it. We're going to have these reports for you to sign. Don't even read them.
Yeah, I know.
I love that.
We're moving you into government housing or something.
I can't remember where he was going to send them, but I think at that point, you know, Cyril's like, I think I'm going to be working at a Burger King in a week. This is not good.
Yeah, because I was trying to, maybe I was on my phone for a second at that point because like I didn't put like he's threatening them and this is what they're going to do. But then all of a sudden he's moving in with his mom. So I was like, did he just quit his fucking job?
I think they just got sent out. Like he may have been given an option, like you can go guard in, you know, a tower in the middle of nowhere or something, or you can leave. And he was like, I'm out.
Yeah, they were done.
The Empire is taking over charge of Morlana directly now. So they're done farming out their security forces. So he goes back to Coruscant with his tail between his legs and heads to his mom's pad, and she slaps him and then gives him a big hug. She's so
yells
excited.
at the neighbor.
What's that?
Yells at the neighbor who's watching.
Oh yeah.
What are you looking at?
Yeah, go about your business. She has been obviously missing being able to ridicule her son. And so she's so happy he's home so she can do that now.
It's all his fault that she hasn't seen him.
Well, I forgot about that whole conversation. I had an extra room. You could have come whenever you wanted.
It would have been nice to see you while you were doing well.
Everyone knows it. Yeah, I know. Everyone knows an open invite is no invite at all.
Right.
It's so much guilt tripping. Back at the ISB, Dedra perked up when she heard about the Starpath unit being recovered on Ferrix because she's looking for a missing one from Steerguard, which is under her jurisdiction. And so she requests the full report. And this is where we get our first indication of the Dedra rivalry. And he's stonewalling her because he's like, this is my space. Fuck you. She's like, well, I'm just going to go over your head. So we later get this meeting with the two of them in Portagaz. It's like him, you know, working with his two children, essentially.
Is this like sort of like where Homeland Security, which I guess probably didn't exist then, but like the FBI and the CIA wouldn't share anything until after 9/11?
It's very much there's a lot of pride and a lot of being worried that you're going to lose your fucking job or something if somebody infringes on your space. And nobody wants to talk. You're right. Nobody wants to talk to each other. This is my stuff. You can't fucking, I'm not going to share my information.
No, you can't see my report. Get off my ladder.
And it makes them less efficient and more vulnerable because of it. So clearly some issues with the Empire. So then when they meet with Portagaz, he's kind of siding with Blevin, saying, essentially this is his spot, sorry. But she's making the case that this is all an orchestrated effort. That all these people in different places are stealing Imperial equipment to try to use it as part of a larger cause. She's the only one seeing this. Portagaz is like, I don't know about that.
She's seeing like those math equations in front of her, like that GIF.
Right.
I see patterns.
She does. She's like the accountant. That's when Portagaz tells her that they brought in people like her to be more competent and tucked away because she's a DEI hire. Just kidding.
Oh.
I'm kidding.
Keep going.
So then we go back to Luthen, who goes back to Coruscant. That's when we see him change into the different Luthen character.
Right.
The more flamboyant.
Yep.
Kind of longer hair. I love the fact that he literally has to go through the
acting.
Motions. He is acting. I like how he's doing his gestures. He's got to get back into character. So he goes to this, because it's this, I guess you'd call it a gallery kind of curator role that he's going into. Yeah. So back at the gallery, here comes Mon.
Oh.
we meet the always skeptical.
That's a word.
Sure. We meet the always skeptical Clea, and if it's in a blink and you miss it moment, she actually smiles. I'm pretty sure we never see her smile again.
No, that was the one time. It was an acting faux pas.
She is all business. So Clea runs interference with Mon's driver while Mon and Luthen kind of go in the back to talk details, logistics on the rebellion. And he's like, I need dough.
I have to say, and I know we talked about it before, but I love the way they put on this conversation because they don't know if he's the driver's a spy.
Right.
And then as they move into the back room, the way the conversation changes, like the writing, the back and forth is fucking amazing.
Yeah, no, it's great. Well, because everything Mon's saying is she's like, every time I go somewhere, it's new people.
New faces.
I go to the bank, it's new people. I got a new driver. She's like very much understands that she's being spied on. Totally.
Yep.
So yes, they go in the back, have this conversation. He's asking for more money. She's like, I'm doing the best I can here. I'm the one who's got like my face out there. I'm the one who's going to take the biggest fall.
Right.
I'm trying to get money together. So she goes, I got this other person that I think could help us. He's like, whoa. I don't want to bring another person into this. You just brought Cassian into that piece.
Right.
But you don't want her to bring in somebody else.
Yeah.
So he's very controlling.
Slow your roll, lady.
Right, exactly. I'm the one who brings in new people, not you.
Right.
Oh, and then as she heads out, she does that opening up of her coat bit. This is this is a theme we'll see where she's so much tension is happening. She's
stress reliever.
Yeah, and I know you like that, Sweet.
Oh, every time she comes home and she takes off her clothes. Thank you.
Back at her house, I've mentioned this before. Jesus, it is fucking Perrin, by the way, just so bad. But he's planning this dinner with his buddies, and Mon is not happy.
What is this for? The mayor's coming over. What mayor? It's like, I told you a month ago.
Well, I like how he's like, don't worry, all the fun people are sitting at my end of the table.
Yeah, I put you down on the other end. And then he goes, rumor has it I have a gift coming. I'm taking it back. Why do you have to be so boring?
Yeah, he says, must everything be boring and sad? Yeah. This guy just wants to party, man.
It's so funny. The way their point of views are so skewed in the same household.
Yes. She is so caught up in people being mistreated, and he's like, whatever, man. Yeah. I'm just living my life. Livin.
Yeah, it's a high life, man.
Yeah, she had pointed out, though, that his fun friends they all just cut off the Gorman shipping lanes.
Right.
So we're planting those seeds.
There's your first seed right there, yep.
And that was kind of it for episode 4. But boy, you certainly get that tension. And it's going to pick up again in episode 5 because it opens.
Woo! Breakfast is not fun in that household.
No. Actually, well, let's talk first about Coruscant because I think that's where they open. Syril. That's where they open. Syril and Syril.
Yes.
This is the first. Well, first they show him. It's like it's dawn. And he's got this like fuck my life look on his face because he's sitting in his old childhood.
I don't know if he went to bed yet.
He might not have. Stayed up all night?
Yeah. He's like frozen in time, man. He's like, oh, what did I do?
He's in his old room. He's like, still got toys in there and shit. But yeah, this kicks off the series of breakfast chats we're going to get with his mother, Eedy. And she is just riding his ass with so much sass. It's so great. Mm-hmm. Very much my son just returned home from college and hasn't got a job yet. And he needs to fucking get on it.
Yes.
Get our first mention of Uncle Harlow. God, I hope we get to meet him this season.
I was thinking the same thing.
Will we get to see him? I hope so. Or is he just going to be that guy? Always referenced but never shown.
Right.
Could be.
Yeah, like Frasier's or what's the brother's name in Frasier? Niles.
Oh, his wife?
Right? Yeah, he always talks about his wife or Norm's wife on Cheers. Never see her.
Never see her.
It's like that famous gag. Yeah, this is definitely Uncle Harlow.
So then later, Eedy is needling him more about Uncle Harlow and how he's thinking of things that, he might suggest for Syril to do. And I forgot about how great the tennis match of insults is between these two. It is constant. It is just back and forth, quip.
But does she, it almost like she doesn't catch like his dry remarks back to her.
No, I think she does.
Yeah?
She kind of shakes him off, I think.
They don't mean anything, where like every one of hers like just gets a little deeper to him.
Oh yeah. I think you're right. I think it just washes right over her. She doesn't care. But oh man, there's some biting comments being thrown back and forth. It's very entertaining.
I wonder what the Gilroy household was like, because this seems very like taken from life.
Well, I think this is one of those things where if you're at somebody's house and they're doing this, you're like, we need to get out of here. Like that's what you're telling your girlfriend or wife or something. You're like, let's get the fuck out of here.
Yep.
There's a deeper conversation happening here that we don't need to be around for. And then we see later on, Syril's got that hollow still with Cassian's face. He's not giving up on that crime.
No. Yeah.
He is driven. Back on Aldhani, Cassian wakes up and realizes someone was snooping around his shit. Finds out it was Skeen going through all his stuff, which includes a corporate issue blaster. I'm assuming that's the one he shot the guy in the face with, the corpo. Right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Stole from him. And like I mentioned before, they're just there's a lot of feeling each other out. They're trying to figure out each other's motivations and like, why are you here?
You recognize these tattoos, dog?
I know. Showing off his This is the moment when he tells Clem she shares a blanket. This is that moment. And then we get into a lot of insight into Nemec and his philosophies. You know, he's full of one-line nuggets. This guy has a future, if he didn't die, unfortunately,
right,
for like T-shirts and bumper stickers, because he's got all the phrases ready to go. But he starts in on his manifesto with Clem and is cut short by Terriman because it's time to... What?
We'll continue this later.
Yeah, he's like, well, yeah. I love the fact that whatever he says to him, he goes, "You're the perfect reader for my manifesto. Like, I'm going to give it to you." We get into, there's this discussion that Vel and Terriman try to have with Clem about logistics, and I mean, it's so funny because they don't know how to get the box freighter out of the complex and into the air. So clearly, this 5-month plan has not been totally ironed out. They've been there for 5 months. They haven't figured this part out
yet. One
yet.
thing they haven't figured out is how to get the rail disengaged, right?
Right.
The clamp on the rail, I believe, is what it is.
That's all they have. But they do this whole thing of, well, we know how we do it. What would you do?
What do you mean, what would I do? What do you got planned? He turns it on them really quickly. He's pretty smart.
It is, yeah. So we come to realize also that like this whole area they're in, this valley they're in, is like set up as a dress rehearsal space.
That's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. He's like pointing out all the markers of where everything is so they can mark it off. He's like, this is the same length but a different pitch and all this kind of stuff. So they're doing the kind of this soldier training to emulate these soldiers so they look the part when they show up there. And again, we get the TIE fighter blowing right through there with the flyby.
Just playing games, man.
The only thing we were missing is Clem taking a drink of his coffee and spitting it all over himself and being like,
"Negative, Ghost Rider. The pattern is full.
I want some butts." So then they start making their way toward the garrison, for the mission, and they had to burn all their scale models. Poor Nemec. He's worked hard on those things.
That's in his book somewhere.
I would hope so. Little drawings, little sketches. On the way, Skeen swipes Clem's Skykyber and is like, why the fuck would a dude who's got a crystal worth this much money be on a heist mission? Like, what the hell's going on? This is fishy as shit. So Clem just comes clean, which I think is the right move. He's like, look, let's just get this out of the way. And he goes, I don't want to be constantly looking over my back. But he says, I'm getting paid, man. And Nemec, his heart drops. He's like, oh, you're getting paid? Yeah. I thought we had a thing.
You're still on our side, right? Right?
Yeah. Like, but you still kind of hate the Empire, right?
You want to read my manifesto, right?
You're only on chapter 1. There's 30 chapters.
Oh.
But yeah, good move to clear the air. I mean, might as well. And then you see they signal Lieutenant Gorn that they're in position and it's a go. I like how Vel goes, that's enough. And he just keeps waving it.
Yeah.
Put the fucking flame down. And then Vel makes Skeen apologize, sorta, to Clem. Which is just him explaining how his motivation for being there and fighting the Empire is that he had this brother who got fucked over and it cost him his life. Did it, though?
Right.
We'll find out soon enough. And then Vel and Cinta head out, leaving the others behind because they're going to rendezvous tomorrow. They're going to a different place, and Clem doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. Again,
not his business.
It's got to be tough because you're brought in to do this stuff, but you don't know the whole plan. You don't, it's, as much as they're suspicious of him, he's like, I'm just throwing myself into this mess, and I wasn't even part of any of the planning. Not to mention, your guys' plan was kind of not great.
Right. You didn't even know how to get out of here.
Or not complete. Yeah. We do a quick check-in on Ferrex where Blevin is, I kept going back and forth calling him Blevin and Blevins. Michael Bivens is setting up shop for the Empire, and good old Captain Tigo, that fucking prick. Remember that guy?
The shithead that like takes control over he's the guy that does the mind shit, right?
He's the one. No, he's the one that kicks over B2 in the finale. He's the one that tries to cover him With he's like in charge essentially of the troops
of the hotel.
Ferrex. Yeah. So he sucks. Then on Coruscant, again, we get to the Mon Mothma home life. This is where I was mentioning earlier. It is just so miserable. The tension in the air at breakfast is terrible. And there's no good breakfast. Nobody has a good breakfast on the show. It's just filling tension.
Yep.
But this is where we learn that her daughter, Lita, hates her because she's a workaholic and she plays her dad against her. So it's just parents just eating it up.
And he's just fucking, I was gonna say, he's just kicked back, twiddling his thumbs, just, I didn't say anything.
I'm the fun parent.
Yeah. I took her to Disney World last week.
Right. So they have this little bond because the two of them despise or have issues with Mon and her work life taking over her entire existence. I do love the exchange later when they're coming home from some event and he questions her. He's like, oh, what's this foundation I heard you're doing? She's like, well, I didn't think you'd care because it's charitable.
Right. What a fucking killer line.
He does I love his reaction because he goes, huh. Yeah. That's all he can do. Oh, man. Quick check-in again with the ISB. We get all sorts of fun references in this chat that Dedra has with her assistant. She mentions Hosnian Prime, Kessel, Jakku.
Yep.
Essentially, it's her talking more about this pattern she's figuring out. He says it's too random to be random. She's seeing all these different places where things are being stolen, and to her, it seems like it's all tied together, but she's having a tough time like proving it, essentially. And then finally back to the gallery, Luthen's listening to the comms. This was your comment last week about how Clea coming in and going, you coming to bed? Yes. Because he's up listening for something, and she's like, nothing would be happening right now. Right. Like the mission is tomorrow, dummy. But he's nervous. I mean, he's very fucking concerned about this whole thing. So we go to episode 6. We open on Aldhani. Nemec's on edge, couldn't sleep, still struggling with Clem not being in it for the cause. But he's like, you know what? He's like trying to justify it. Like, hey, you got to use the tools at your disposal. That's what this is. So I'm okay with it, essentially. And meanwhile, those fat and satisfied Imperials. They're talking mad shit about the Aldhani natives, like that they stink. Right. And they're just like they're so basic in their mental faculties they can't comprehend more than one thing at a time and all this shit. It's just fucking terrible stuff.
Fucking sheep herders.
They talk about how they set up these comfort stations along their trek to this, ceremony. And so there's only like 50 of them left that are going to make it to the Eye of Aldhani.
Oh, right. That's 500. That's right.
And then they talk about how they're like, well, one day that we're going to just use it for cheap labor and we got to build this airstrip or whatever, Right. So as Clem and crew kind of go get in position, we learn also that Terramin was a stormtrooper. That's why we had he seems like a soldier. So a lot of Imperial turncoats involved in this group.
Yeah,
you got Gorn, you got Terramin, which helps because they know the ins and outs of the the enemy. The 4 of them join the other Imperial squads and escorting the Donnie people to the temple. And then we get a quick look into another couple in marital bliss, and that is the Imperial commander Behaz, I guess is how you say his name, or Behaz, and his wife and son. Oh,
is this where he can't get his belt on?
He's like, the fucking kid's 12, he can't dress himself, and then he's like, come dress me.
He can't dress, yeah. Oh, fucking, I laughed so hard at that again.
She's like, he doesn't feel well. He's always sick, fucking kid. He talks about threatening to use the back of his hand.
Right, yeah. This is a father you can't wait that come home for dinner at night.
Oh, God, exactly. The car pulls in the driveway, and you're immediately like, get that feeling.
This guy screams like stepfather.
He kind of does. Well, I could see that, yes. I can also see him being like you're my fucking kid, and you're embarrassing me. Like this kind of, like he's doing that bullshit.
Like the old school military, where like you just didn't show your kid any love.
Yeah, that, for sure. Yeah. The kid is very, I mean, the mom and the kid are together on this, and and Behaz or however you say his name is just like fucking you're making me look bad. Don't make me look bad. I like how he makes the kid carry the stinky goat hide too.
Yes.
This whole time, Vel and Cinta are doing their Mission Impossible routine. Going underwater to the dam, planting the jamming device in the comms room. They join the other 4 inside the complex, and that's where that Behaz guy is with his family, and they've taken them hostage.
Yep.
So they go up to the control tower, and I guess Cinta drew the short straw because she's got to stay behind.
I know.
I know. I mean, I like how Vel's like, promise me you'll be okay. But it's like, hey, I got the bad job. I have to sit here and just hold these people at gunpoint and then walk out and then fucking find my own way off this planet.
Got to walk back with all these herders.
Exactly. Yep. It's not very easy for her. So they go down to the vault, fire up the freighter, use the Imperials to load up the credits. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
I love that moment.
And we got Homeboy up in the listening tower. He's like, what's going on here?
Well, right. And that's when the Alkenzi base is like, we got a vault. What did they call it? A vault breach alarm? Anybody? And Cinta just turns the communication off.
Right.
That scene of those guys going and getting in the ties with the fucking eye.
I love that
going
shot.
off behind them. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That was very cool. So yeah, the guy, the comms room guy is like, okay, I need to rally the troops here. We need to go down and figure out what the hell's going on. Because he does hear them talking about taking the vault. So they go down there and we end up with this firefight. And unfortunately, Lieutenant Gorn and Terriman both get gunned down.
Mm-hmm.
But Vel and Skeen and Nemec and Clem all make it out.
Well, they make it out, yeah.
Well, they get out, but when he hits the boosters to go, that crate just slides right into Nemec's chest, and you can feel it. It's like, oh God, crushed. So when the TIE fighters come in, they are now in pursuit of Clem and their ship. Luckily, the eye is fucking up their they can't lock onto him.
Right.
This is when Vel hits Nemec with the med spike, straight out of Pulp Fiction with Uma Thurman. And he's screaming at Clem to climb. It would have been, it struck me in this moment, watching it this time, it would have been hilarious if this turned into like a Naked Gun Nordberg thing, and every time he would climb and dive, Nemec would just get tossed around.
Like it just looks like a fake doll.
Right.
Throwing him around, yeah.
Sorry.
Now, when she stabs him with that, do you think that she knew he was dying then?
I think so.
But they needed him to run that fucking little machine, the Polaroid camera, in order to get out of there.
I think you're right.
Because he's like, what did you give him? Clem's shouting.
Yeah, it's like, it seems like it's almost like a shot of adrenaline. It's just enough to get him going. It's just enough to get him through what he needs to get through. But she knows that the odds are he's dying and he's going to die. I mean, and later on, she literally is like, doesn't want to take him to the doctor. She's like, he's dead.
Yeah, exactly. That's what made me think like she knew what was going on.
I think she did. Yeah. I mean, she's very much as much as she has issues with Luthen, she's operating in a similar manner. Like, hey, we got, you got to do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, thank God Nemec's got this navigation device because it allows them to fly through the eye. Meanwhile, the ties just get ripped to shreds.
Yeah, they do. Ooh.
So good thing he had that. And it would seem at this point, when they have this conversation about going to the doctor, you kind of get this idea that Skeen has a bit of a heart because he's like, dude, this is one of our guys. We got to go get him fixed. This was a contingency in our plan. So let's go, help him out. But then you realize later on why he wanted to do that.
Yep.
So we get this scene with Dr. Quadpaw. I didn't realize that till I saw the captions. Name? Yes.
Quadpaw?
The captions say Dr. Quadpaw.
Okay. A little on the nose, but that's Star Wars.
It is very much on the nose. So he appears to be doing some sort of spinal tap and working on his back. Unfortunately, it doesn't work because Nemec dies. But meanwhile, outside gives the proposition to Clem, like, hey, there's 80 million credits. We could split it. We each get 40 million. Of course, Cassian's like, you're full of shit. The second we get anywhere, you're going to kill me.
Shit. Yeah.
So I know this stupid hoax. And so he shoots him. Then he goes in and talks to Vel, and he's like, look, I want my 200,000 credits, and I'm going to take this ship, and I'm out of here. I just want to get the fuck out of here. But she has to hand him Nemec's manifesto because he insisted that he take it. And that's where we're going to get all these great quotes
and
later
the whole
on.
time, he's like, I know there's an Apple tag in here somewhere.
Right. I didn't think about that. This is your way to track me.
Right.
Back on Coruscant, word gets back to the ISB about the heist. Major Portagaz goes scorched earth. He's like, we're going to retaliate everywhere.
Oh, this is where he's like, everyone in the room, you're not going to sleep. Tell your team they're here till midnight. Yeah.
Yep. Tell your families you're not coming home.
Right.
So then they show Mon in the Senate fighting the good fight for the Gormans still, trying to, plead her case.
And she's losing them one by one.
Yeah, right. That's, all that news breaks, and then we get that shot of Luthen, who gets kind of word of the rebel attack on Aldhani, and he goes in the back gallery and just has this big laugh.
Yeah.
Because he's like, fucking yes, it's off. We're on. We're going.
We fucking did it. Yep. I don't need Mon Mothma in her fucking bank account.
So we have like our first, because this is kind of the first major spark of the rebellion at the ISB.
Yes.
It gets their attention, and it's just going to spur everything forward. So next week we're going to do the third arc, which is the prison arc, but it does start with that episode 7 that's kind of the link from this arc to the next. So we'll cover 4 episodes.
The one on the beach planet.
Yes, it ends there. It starts with him going back to Ferrix, remember? And
correct.
Then he has to, and that's where he says goodbye to Marva and all that stuff. They have that great
sees
scene.
Binks one more time in the backyard.
Yes. Right.
Yep.
So we'll get that in episode 7, then we'll have episodes 8 through 10, which is the prison stuff. So we'll cover all 4 of those episodes next, and then we'll do the last 2 episodes with a guest the week after that. So
Woo!
It's moving along quick. I mean,
It is.
It's one of those where sometimes when you're going back to do like a review of something and you are, I'm taking notes to kind of walk us through this conversation and everything.
Yeah.
It's like it could feel like a chore.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not with this. This is so fun to fucking watch again.
It's
been so great to see it again. I can't wait for season 2.
I'm same boat. I feel the same.
All right. Well, we got a Maul bag, and then we can get out of here.
1 email.
Email from Max Rebo. I hope you had a satisfactory Ash Wednesday. I can't recall. Did you grow up going to church and stuff? Did you do the Palm Sunday and Ash Wednesday and all that stuff?
I grew up going to church, but I didn't do any of that. It was like a Sunday thing because it was when I went to my dad's, him and my stepmom, they did the church thing. So I was like there for the weekend. I would do it, but when I was at home, I was just fucking, a vagabond, just doing what the fuck I wanted. There's no God during the week.
I was wondering if you were what we call. I was raised Catholic. I was wondering if you were one of those people we called C&E people, which is the Christmas and Easter. They go those 2 times a year and that's it.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you also had to go a little bit more than that when you were at your dad's.
Yeah, I did like the communion. I did all that shit.
Oh,
but
okay.
It was just on my dad's time. Yeah.
Right. He says, Max, unpopular take. Ready?
Yep.
People watch the first arc of Andor and think, hell yeah. But what really happened? Andor was accosted by 2 corrupt cops and kills them. Syril Karn wanted to find the murderer and arrest him. Why is that bad? People forgive Anakin for literal child murder, but Syril is an unredeemable fascist. Okay, first of all, I don't think we've forgiven Anakin for murdering children.
Right. Also, it's all about personality,
There you go. He's got more flair. He's a more likable character. But it's like we talk all the time about how much of a fucking monster Anakin is, like as much as that, there's the redemption at the end of Return of the Jedi. We're like, no, he murdered a lot of his kill count is very fucking high.
Oh yeah.
And it has no prejudice. It is all comers. Right. So, and as far as Syril being like an unredeemable fascist, I don't think we're there yet.
Right.
He's just kind of a fucking nerd with a mall cop mentality.
Yeah, he's like a pompous tart.
Yeah, he's just trying to rise above the emasculation of his mother.
I was gonna say we do feel bad for him because you look at it and you're like, well, we can see why he is the way he is, right? The upbringing, but he is a shithead.
Yes, he is. Speaking of shitheads, after a jealous Tim snitches on his girlfriend's ex, who murdered 2 people, he reminds us, the Corpos execute a search looking for a cop killer. Were they aggressive with Marva and B2? Probably. But messing up the house isn't as bad as Brasso sabotaging a dropship. First of all, those cops, those corpos had it coming. They were abusing their power and threatening to kill him and robbing him.
Right.
So I think you could make the case for self-defense to a degree. So tell me this, Max. If these guys were just street criminals that did the same thing to him, would you care as much?
Yeah, Max.
It's the same act, regardless of what their profession is. I don't know. Just saying. The Corpos get separated and one team runs into Bix. Be careful now. Their detaining of her was rough, but they felt it was justified due to the situation. Tim shows up and gets blasted by a jumpy cop. The squad leader reprimands the cop and disarms him and sends him back to the dropship so he can't mess up again. Too bad he happened to go back to the sabotaged dropship and flies into the scraped spaceship. They were definitely too rough with Bix. And it's also kind of one of those things where it's like, you have the position of the killer. I know they said they were having trouble navigating their way there, but you know where the killer is, so why are you bothering with her?
Right. Yeah, she could just be like, oh, shit's going down. I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah, she's running away.
Yeah.
As is everybody.
Right. What was the word you used earlier? You look unscrupulous.
Well, yeah, the cop says something. He says something like, you look like you're not running away. Or he says something like she looks suspicious, but I don't know. It didn't seem to make a lot of sense why they would even bother with her.
I think he saw what she looked like, and he was like, I'm going to give her the long arm of the law.
It could have been.
That's what it was.
Is that what he calls it?
Yeah.
I might be jumbling the timeline here, but the other team has Andor surrounded and are awaiting backup. As far as I can tell, they are going to arrest him. So this is typical cop stuff, except several of them get blown up. Obviously, a firefight ensued, and after a booby-trapped speeder bomb takes out another bunch of corpos, the murderer escapes with another murderer, and the audience cheers. I think you're right in the timing. I think they were surrounding the building and waiting for backup, and that's when Luthen hits him with the slap charges.
Yes.
So that does kick it off, and the fight happens. But The booby-trapped speeder, it goes down Broadway. The corpos blow it up and
Open
look pretty
fire.
fucking happy. Like that
Right.
look on Linus's face when he turns and looks at Syril, like he's got a stupid like little girl giggle on his fucking face,
Right.
because they took down the speeder.
Well, I mean, he's right in the sense that these are the cops, and they think they just got the bad guys.
Correct.
But this is what's so brilliant about the show is it's the gray area, like who is right, who is wrong. Like
Right.
this is real life situation where like when you're put in this situation, like, you know, if you look at the war, the guy who's the fucking soldier on either side isn't really the bad guy. They're just fighting for their cause.
Yes, and I mean I think in this I appreciate him kind of taking the devil's advocate approach here. I think I have to side at least with Cassian at a minimum, because Cassian is like trying to survive. He was jumped by two dudes, whereas Luthen's like, I want to kill everybody. Like Luthen's offering to kill everybody. Cassian could have fucking murdered Syril. He didn't. He just tied him up. Got
they're
information
both
from
fighting corruption, right? It's just Luthen's further along in his knowledge and ability,
and willing to do whatever it takes
Yeah.
to murder, to kill people and stuff. Whereas Cassian literally is just trying to like get by. He would avoid killing somebody just to get out of things. That's you know what I mean? I don't know.
And it's not like they weren't going to kill him.
No.
Yeah, they were going to play rough cop, get what they wanted out of him. Oops, we shot him. He was trying something and fucking
Right, he tried to
dispose of this dude
escape
and get away with it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they were
So,
shitbags.
They were shitbags. So, so there you go, Max. But we appreciate the email.
Blue Lives Matter.
They literally were wearing blue.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
All right. Well, we thank you for listening, and we hope you return. So until next time,
laugh it up, fuzzballs.
We have spoken.